Hey, my name is Will Peak, and I'm here in my basement woodwind shop, aka Peak Performance Woodwinds, to show you the newest version of my incline thumb rest for saxophones, the Mark II. In this video, I will show you what the incline thumb rest does and demonstrate the improvements the Mark II offers over the original version. I will also walk you through some general instructions while going into greater detail about how the incline thumb rest is used by different saxophonists. My real hope for this video is that maybe it can help you think a little bit differently about the ergonomic needs of your left hand. Whether you're simply trying to improve your technique and make it more fluid and natural, or you're trying to overcome a particular strain that you've been experiencing, I think the incline thumb rest can be a really valuable tool for a lot of saxophone players. I originally came up with the incline thumb rest to alleviate strain I personally was experiencing in my left hand when playing saxophone, soprano especially, but now I'm using the new Mark II on my alto as well. The primary source of the strain was the way my thumb moved when operating the octave key, particularly when tilting off of the octave key and onto the thumb rest. When my thumb is triggering the octave key, my hand is in a natural, comfortable position. When I come off of the octave key, however, my thumb wants to be supported, but the angle of the thumb rest is such that my thumb is essentially forced to hyperextend at the second joint to make contact with it. The solution for me was basically to fill the gap between my thumb and the thumb rest when my thumb is pressing the octave key. If the thumb rest is right under my thumb while it's activating the octave key, my thumb then doesn't need to actively bend back to it. My thumb remains supported in its natural position and is always ready to trigger the octave key in a comfortable and natural way. This did so much for me. In addition to helping me overcome an injury that I was dealing with at the time that I made the first prototype, it just improved my technique. My thumb no longer had two distinctly different jobs: press the octave key or actively come back off of it. It felt like it just had one job: press the octave key or don't. Because the incline thumb rest is easily adjustable, any saxophone player can find a setting that feels right for them. The thumb rest is adjustable in two primary ways. First, the rotation of the thumb rest is adjustable. This basically determines what direction the thumb rest tilts in relationship to your thumb. Second, the overall tilt or incline of the thumb rest is adjustable. This simply determines the angle at which your thumb is supported. So the Mark II differs from the original in two ways. The most obvious of which is the shape of the lid has changed. The original has a straight back edge, and the Mark II has a curved back edge. And this is a small but significant improvement, which I especially notice on alto. So this is a Mark II prototype that I've got on my alto right now, and let's pretend for a moment that I've got an original on here. So when operating the octave key normally, it feels great. But our thumb doesn't only move this way. When I'm operating the bell keys, it actually has to tilt with my wrist sort of diagonally up and to the left. So northwest, if you want to think of it that way. And when I'm using an original, there's a somewhat pronounced corner here that I then begin to feel with my thumb, and I found that uncomfortable. There were a few other people who noticed this as well. For whatever reason, it's not quite as big of a deal on soprano. In fact, I still use an original on my soprano, although I do overall prefer the Mark II on my soprano as well. It's not as big of a difference, so I just kept my original incline thumb rest on my soprano sax. But on alto, it's a big enough difference for me that I am now using it and I really enjoy it. So essentially, that lid shape has made the incline thumb rest a lot more versatile. It solved a problem that was a deal breaker for some players. The other feature that I've added are these two small screws on the bottom side. They're lid locking screws. So I had a very small number of people mention to me that at times they would inadvertently flip the lid up when they didn't mean to, either when they were putting the saxophone back in its case, or in the context of them playing, they might sometimes lift their thumb off of the saxophone or lift their hand away from the saxophone. And I think any sort of distraction like that we can avoid when playing is good. So anyway, it was enough people that I wanted to start thinking about possible solutions, and the solution that I thought was the best was these lid locking screws. So once you've decided on an incline setting that feels comfortable, you can hold the lid down more securely by removing the thumb rest. Of course, making note of what rotation you've got it set at, and gently tighten these two screws just until they stop. You don't need to screw them down especially tight. And those screws will make contact directly with the hinge of the lid here and here. Maybe you can see them if you look close. So that, I think, is a really good way of holding that lid down securely, but also not totally permanent, right? So if you decide later on that you want a little bit more or less incline, you can still take the thumb rest off, loosen these screws, and readjust as necessary. First, you'll need to remove the stock thumb rest, exposing the chimney underneath. I go into detail about this in a separate video, so check this out if you need more information. Next, put the thumb rest over the thumb rest chimney. It should slide on easily. If it doesn't, make sure that you've got the correct size. This is a size S1, which is designed for modern Yamahas and Selmer Paris, including the Mark 6 and Mark 7. Size S2 is designed specifically for Yanagisawa, I believe going back to the 880. And S3 was designed for Buffet Senzos. And it might fit Kyleworth saxophones, modern Kyleworth saxophones, although I haven't confirmed this. Anyway, so if you've got the correct size and it's not sliding on smoothly, double check to make sure that there's no adhesive of any kind left on the thumb rest chimney if you needed to remove adhesive. And also be sure that the set screws are not screwed in or are not protruding already. So anyway, place the thumb rest on the body and start by tightening just one of the set screws with the included Allen wrench. And there you go. So next we need to approximate what rotation is going to feel best for you. And generally speaking, people prefer one of two positions relative to their thumb. First is in line with their thumb. So take note of what angle your forearm comes to the instrument naturally, and you can try having the incline essentially in line with your thumb like this, or more perpendicular to your thumb like this. Generally speaking, at least it's been my experience,
that many people whose arms come to the saxophone straight from the side often prefer the lid to be more south of their thumb, reinforcing it kind of on the side here versus more towards the heel of their thumb. So approximate what feels best for you and move on from there. We can always adjust this a little bit later. Next, we're going to adjust the incline or tilt of the lid. Simply flip the lid up, use the included Allen wrench to turn the screw counterclockwise to back it out, thus raising the incline of the lid, or screw it back in to make it lower. If you want the lid even lower than the pre-installed screw allows, you can switch to the headless incline adjustment screw, which does not have a domed head protruding past this portion of the thumb rest. You can screw it in further for a minimal incline, or you could even use the thumb rest totally flat. If you want more incline than the pre-installed screw allows, I've also included some slightly longer screws, which give you a little bit more room to back the screw out. This is quite extreme, but it's not actually that far off from where I've got mine adjusted on soprano, believe it or not. This is way too much for me on alto, however. Once you've been playing on this thumb rest for a little while and you feel comfortable and confident that this is a good setting for you, you can lock that lid with those lid locking screws that I mentioned by removing the thumb rest, using your smallest Allen wrench. Gently tighten both of the lid locking screws until they stop naturally. And then it should stay down pretty secure. Do not force the lid up after tightening these screws, as if you do that too many times, you will damage the hinge. Always be sure to take the thumb rest off again and loosen these two set screws before making other adjustments to the lid. Once you feel that you've settled on a rotation that feels good to you, you can tighten additional set screws around the base. There's a total of 4, so that no matter what rotation you've got it at, no matter what kind of saxophone you have, you should be able to always reach at least 2. And that's all you need. So I can reach this one here under the octave key, and this one here. There you go.
Thanks for watching. I hope this was helpful, but if you have any additional questions, feel free to get in touch with me via the contact information listed on my website, peakperformancewoodwinds.com. Thank you.